Hello viewers. I recently had to set up an emulated OLPC XO 1.5 development environment for one of my classes, and there are no videos about it online that I could find, and there are bugs, so I wanted to post something to help people along if they're encountering the same stuff I did. If you're unfamiliar with OLPC, it's the one laptop per child, and the XO is a specific model of their machines. They have 1.5 that we're using in our class. If you're unfamiliar with them, I will be posting details in the video description. I recommend you take a look. The emulated environment we're setting up is called Sugar, which is a graphical interface that sits on top of Fedora. As of this recording, the latest download uses Fedora 18. I will be posting a link to the download page in the description as well, just in case. So I have the download right here, and I'm going to start up my virtual software here. So I'm using a Mac and Parallels. I don't think that the process will be all that different on any other platform. So just to give you a heads up that I don't think there are any differences between them. Okay. So we're going to customize the settings before going through the installation. Now the OLPCs themselves have 1 GB of RAM, so it's okay to leave that alone. If it's not already set to 1 GB, you might want to change it. I don't believe they have multi-core processors. They are not powerful machines. And a couple of things I'm going to do is remove the printer and disable USB 3.0. Up the video to 64. Double check this is all set. Oh yeah, and change the hard disk size. So the install process will require at least 4.5 gigabytes. I believe it's like 4.25. I'm going to give it 8 because obviously I need room for development. The OLPCs we're working with only have 4 gigabytes, but I believe they're using a substantially older version of Fedora, so I don't think the size between the one I'm using and the one that's on the systems is the same, which is probably why they're able to fit in the 4 gigabyte size hard drives. It could also be that it created a huge swap file, but we'll go through that in a minute as well. So we're using a Sugar on a Stick installer. So you're going to boot into Sugar first, and then you're going to launch terminal, and then you're going to run an installer from there. So to get to terminal, we're going to go to our list up here, scroll down, and here it is. If you want it to appear on the front, you have to star it. So, but since we're going to be doing the install, that won't work anyways. So we're going to run su root, because we need to be root in order to process this, and we're going to run live inst. And this will start up the Fedora installer for us. So I'm going to select my hard drive and do a custom partitioning so I can show you what it's doing, because I'm pretty sure that it creates a huge swap area when you have it automatically create them. So see, it's giving a 2 gigabytes to the swap area because we have 1 gig of RAM. So if you want to use the 4 gigabyte size that's in the OLPCs, you're welcome to adjust that, or at least the one that we have anyways. I know I'm gonna. Finish partitioning, and this should start in just a minute. It'll recognize that we have it. Now, unfortunately, I have not found a way around setting a root password, so you'll have to set one, and then if you want to remove it later, you can just use passwd from root. I'm going to make it something really simple, so it's going to yell at me. If you leave it blank, it won't go through. So down here it says press done again to use anyway. It doesn't do that if you're using a blank password. And if you leave it and don't try to change it, it'll get to the finished installing process, and then it won't move forward until you've set a password. So this part is just going to take a couple of minutes, so I'll probably clip it from the video. So picking up where we left off, the install has finished, only took about 4 or 5 minutes. We're going to go to quit, and it should restart the system, or it'll ask us to restart the system, so we're going to do that. And I'm also going to eject the CD-ROM. I'll do that in a second. Let's cause it to reboot because we're still root. And we're going to disconnect the ISO. Okay, so it's booting up. But despite using Sugar for its graphical interface, it's also using the GDM library, and this is where our first bug comes in. So it's going to take us through a couple setup options here. They'll ask us to create a user. So if you try to create a user in this form here, you have to set a password, but you can create one without a user by going to Advanced. And there we go. Now for those who might ask why I would do a full install instead of just use the live environment, the live environment does not maintain state. So for development purposes, like if I have to download Git and use that, it's kind of debilitating. So in any event, so here's where the first bug is. We've got our system set up and it's loading GDM, which is the graphical loader for most platforms. I think it's more genome based, but I could be wrong. So right here we just have a black screen, and it will stay here indefinitely. And here's why. If you press Control and Alt and then F2, it'll take you to a terminal login. We're going to log in as root. And make sure you remember that password you set before. And we're going to have to open up a file located at ets.gdm custom.conf. Now by default, Sugar doesn't show GDM on the machines that we're using, and that's because it uses an auto login. But the problem with the auto login is the one from the current live installer keeps a user named live user. It doesn't set it to whatever user you created. So as a result, it doesn't log you in, and you're just stuck at a black screen because it's trying to auto log in a user that doesn't exist. So we're going to change that to OLPC, and we are going to save it. and then we're going to reboot. Now the other way, instead of rebooting, would have been to list the processes and kill the one that has GDM simple something. I forget the full name of it. But there are 3 GDM processes, and one of them will reset the GDM login screen, and that will let you select your user. Okay, and see, that time we didn't even have to do anything. So now we're going to enter our name. We can pick a color. And we're now in, and this is our environment. So what we're going to do next is I'm actually going to load up terminal, add it to the main screen, and I'm going to grab Git. Now, since it's a Fedora distribution, it uses the same package manager. So we're going to use yum install git. May not install because I didn't have the full name. We'll see. But this really concludes the guide. I hope it's helpful, and send me a post.